Greetings and welcome back to the Osha Cerese Show. I am your host, Osha Cerese. This is your daily dose of real talk. And this is where culture meets coaching, where healing meets headlines, where we utilize alchemy to transmute gossip into growth. So, if this is your first time here, this is the Osha Cerese Show, and I am Osha Cerese, certified life coach, event curator, and dream doula, helping you birth your ideas into life. And this is my new show. I started it 15 days ago. We're going strong. Um, I set the intention to show up online every day. Eventually, this show will most likely be a weekday show and it will have a set time, but this month it is a pop-up show. So that's why it is important for you to subscribe to my channel, which is where this show lives on YouTube, youtube.com/@Asha and make sure you not only subscribe, but you turn those notifications on, because if you don't, you're not going to know when I pop up, because this is a pop-up show. So surprise, we online. And I love for you to join me live so we can interact during the show. Lately, y'all, it's been late. It's been a late night show. But I know some of my night owls and some of my, you know, my self-employed entrepreneur type of people, y'all be up. So stop acting like you're not up this late. But again, thank you for joining me. This is Saturday. I almost didn't make it here before midnight, y'all, because I was really just enjoying chilling. It's been a while since I just have been able to just chill and relax, um, and do a little binge watching, catching up on some shows, just chilling. So I will be returning back to chilling after we get off of this episode. This is Saturday night. Just got out the shower, so that's why I'm looking extra oiled up. We got the fresh face again going on today. And yeah, I'll let you know what I've been doing today. So again, it's February. Happy Black History Month. Yesterday was Valentine's Day. The day before that was Black Love Day. We've been celebrating Black history and Black love all month long. So today, first of all, before we get into that, the drink of the day, I'm still juicing. I'm still mostly raw. I kind of I'm easing my way back into eating um, cooked food. I had a bowl with like some roasted veggies. So I'm incorporating the cooked food back into um, my diet, but I'm gonna stay strong with not eating processed foods. Pray for me, because it's real easy to just pop some processed vegan food in the air fryer or the oven, or saute something up to make a mock meal. But I'm going to do my best to eat whole plant-based foods. So this is day 15 of healthy eating, juicing. This is one of them juices I created out of what I had left in the refrigerator. This is grapefruit, I think a regular orange, maybe even a blood orange is in here. Some green grapes, some lemon, some lime, and I think that's it. This is like a little citrus vibe going on. I don't think I put any apples in here. Yeah, so I think this is just a citrus drink with some grapes. So cheers to great health, love, happiness, joy, success, wealth, and abundance. Cheers. It's, it's giving citrus. Mm-hmm. It's giving citrus. It's good though. So today, for our Black History Spotlight, I wanted to talk about some of our people that have been in the mental wellness space. Um, in Black history. So I wanted to shout out a few people who have contributed to Black mental health and wellness. Because Black history isn't just about activism and civil rights, y'all. It's about mental health and healing and wellness and the betterment of our community. And many Black professionals have contributed to mental wellness, even when the community historically lacked access to proper care. So therapy and mental health, wellness, and all of that is sometimes taboo in the Black community. Some people feel like you just pray it away, you ignore it, you sweep it under the rug, you put it in the back room, you don't talk about it. It's taboo. You don't want to be labeled as crazy or whatever the case. But mental health and wellness is important. So I just wanted to shout out a few people in history that have contributed. So Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, he is a psychiatrist known for the ISIS papers, where she explored racism's psychological effects. I'm sorry, y'all, reading these little bitty words. Let me start it over so you can get it clear. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, a psychiatrist known for the ISIS papers, where she explored racism's psychological effects. I have not read the ISIS papers yet, but it is on my read list, so I'm looking forward to reading that. She was born in 1935 and passed in 2016. Dr. Joy DeGruy, DeGruy, author of Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, which breaks down generational trauma in the Black community. Dr. Mamie Phipps Clark, born 1917, passed away in 1983, is a psychologist whose research on Black children's self-perception influenced Brown versus Board of Education. Dr. Beverly Green, a clinical psychologist focusing on the intersection of race, gender, and mental health. Dr. Carl Bell, who was born in 1947 and passed in 2019, is a psychiatrist and advocate for trauma-informed care in Black communities. A few others that I wanted to mention as well. Dr. Reverend Iyanla Vanzant, however you pronounce it. She's a spiritual teacher, lawyer, life coach, and author of multiple books, including Acts of Faith and Yesterday I Cried. She used to host the Iyanla Fix My Life on OWN, where she helped people confront trauma and patterns in their lives. And she is known for her tough love approach to healing and helping people break generational cycles. My mother has gone through some of her programs, and she has become a certified spiritual warrior through one of her deep programs. I watched my mom go through this program. It was very intense. They had to do a lot of work. They had to do work on self and learn how to support others as well. Lisa Nichols is a transformational speaker and life coach featured in The Secret. She's the founder of Motivating the Masses, which helps people heal, grow, and step into their purpose. I have a book by Lisa Nichols that I started reading and didn't finish, so it's on my shelf. I promise to finish it. It's called No Matter What. What I did read was very helpful. I might grab it and read a couple things. She shares her journey from single motherhood and financial struggle to becoming one of the world's most sought after motivational speakers. Queen Afua. I also have a couple of her books on my shelf. I have two signed books. Actually, I have Sacred Woman, which I have read, and I did start going through my my different what is it called? Initiations. So I'm on the first one, which is 0. I did complete that. I have that book, and I have Planet Heal, which I haven't started reading yet. But Queen Afua is a holistic wellness expert, herbalist, and author of Sacred Woman and Heal Thyself. She teaches the connection between health, diet, spirituality, and emotional healing. And she's a pioneer in womb wellness and feminine energy healing, especially for Black women. I guess I haven't exercised my mouth today. I haven't done too much talking until right now. So my mouth is just, the words ain't coming out right. But shout out to the beautiful women that I just mentioned, some of the Black men in mental health and wellness that I wanted to shout out. As controversial and as much as this man has been a meme, Dr. Umar Johnson, I want to shout him out. I've heard this man speak in person, and he's not just about making people laugh or, saying different sayings and, becoming this laughable meme. He's actually a certified school psychologist, author, and advocate for Black mental health and education. And he focuses on the impact of systemic racism on Black children and the need for Black empowerment. And when I saw him in person, he speaks a lot about um, being careful about allowing school systems and hospitals to diagnose your children prematurely and put that stigma on them, especially young Black children, specifically young Black boys, diagnosing them with ADHD or autism so early and other behavioral issues that follow them through their school career and beyond, wanting to put them on drugs too early. And he offers evaluations and reevaluations for those who have already allowed their children to be diagnosed. And he just really is passionate about helping mothers and families support their youth. Um, so when you stop looking at the controversy that's surrounding Dr. Umar or the funny parts of how he shows up online and really hear his message, he is a great contributing member of the mental health and wellness space for Black people. Dr. Thema Bryant, a licensed psychologist, ordained minister, and president of the American Psychological Association, works at the intersection of mental health, spirituality, and racial trauma healing. Dr. Sean Ginwright, he's the leader in the healing-centered engagement movement, helping Black communities recover from trauma through holistic and cultural approaches. And Jay Barnett, a former NFL player turned mental health therapist and speaker, he advocates for Black men's mental health, helping them navigate emotions and break free from toxic masculinity norms. Another man that I want to shout out, he was recently on B. Simone's podcast, and I've been following him for years. I just want to shout him out because he is doing a lot for young men as well. Mr. Jason Wilson. Jason Wilson has books out. He has a youth program. He does a lot for the community as well. And there's so many others that I haven't mentioned, but I just wanted to shout out a few people that are really, really doing work for the mental health and wellness of our community, and to shout out how important it is. According to certain statistics, only 4% of psychologists in the US are Black. And that's important because a lot of people don't feel comfortable telling their problems or sharing their innermost feelings and secrets and all of these things to someone that doesn't look like them. So it's important for us to have more people that look like us in the health and wellness space that are providing services and treatment for Black people who really need it. 20% of Black adults experience mental health struggles, but only 1/3 seek help due to stigma. And I beg to differ. I feel like it's probably way, way much more than 20% of Black adults experiencing mental health struggles. For one, especially if you're a descendant of slavery, it is literally epigenetics. It's in our DNA that we have experienced some type of trauma that's passed down through our DNA. Then on top of that, whatever your mom or your maternal grandmother went through, you probably have that in your DNA as well. That trauma. If you had any type of traumatic birth trauma, you come into this world with starting out with trauma. And then of course you have childhood stuff. You might have not been in an abusive home, but you may have experienced some type of bullying, some feeling of neglect, some feeling of not being enough, some feeling of low self-esteem, or whatever the case may be, just growing up, getting to adulthood. And then when you get to adulthood, you got bills and societal pressure and relationships that you're going through and trauma from that and workplace stress and the weight of the world on your shoulders. So I can imagine that more than 20% of Black people are experiencing some type of mental health struggle. But that's just, I guess, based on whatever research they've done. And then 1/3 seeking help due to the stigma. I would imagine it's even less than that, but that's what these statistics say. Black men are less likely to seek therapy than Black women, often due to societal pressures around masculinity. I know this to be true for men in my life who have told, have said that they would feel like a bitch going to tell somebody how they feel. And that person who said that really could benefit from therapy, and not throwing shade or being funny, but to have that mindset around therapy and miss out on a lot of support that they could be getting is really sad. And it happens more than we think. So, one of the reasons why I personally wanted to step into the mental health and wellness space in the way that I've done it, in a holistic type of way, is because how much therapy and coaching and healing work has helped me. Because most people that are in this space, they have overcome some of their own mental health struggles or emotional health struggles or trauma of some sort. It's not, I don't know how likely it is. I don't have a statistic for it, but just knowing and meeting other people that chose to get into the mental health space, they've had their own things that they've had to overcome. And I know for me, before, I'm trying to see what were my methods of healing before. I think before my early 20s, it was just mainly either holding it in or talking to loved ones that I trusted. But then after a while, you start to possibly feel ashamed about certain things that you're going through, or you don't feel like they can relate, so you kind of just hold it in. So I feel like once I started going to therapy for the first time, it unlocked a lot for me. And then after time, as time went on, I found other ways of healing, like self-healing through self-help books and learning different methods through that, going to different workshops, trying new things, going to retreats, and just learning what works for me. So I think that it's important to share when you found some tools that have worked for you. And everybody doesn't really benefit. I'm not going to say benefit, but there are some modalities of healing that benefit people even more than just therapy alone, just talk therapy. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. And the reason why I wanted to talk about mental health and therapy and all of this, because as I said, today is Saturday. I've been chilling all day, catching up on watching some shows that I like and all of that. So the show that I've been binge watching today is Love is Blind. And Love is Blind is on Netflix. So it's marketed as a social experiment, but I believe they're on like season 8, if I'm not mistaken. Because I remember I reviewed Love is Blind season 7 on my YouTube channel. I don't know if I'm going to review season 8 just yet, because the couples aren't as interesting to me so far. Maybe they will get a little bit more interesting as we get more into their stories, but it's basically marketed as a social experiment, falling in love without seeing your partner. So basically, these people are in pods, getting to know each other, and um, basically just talking to different people, going on. It's almost like similar to speed dating, but it's not as, I don't know how long they get in the pods. I don't know how long these dates are. I kind of want to look that up to see if they share how long these people spend getting to know each other in the pods. Like how long are the talks and how long is the pod getting to know each other session? Like how many days or weeks does it last? Because basically they get to know each other in these pods. They're not able to see each other. They have the men's quarters and they have the women's quarters. And so the daters go in, they talk to each person, they take notes, they get to know each other. And it kind of starts out just like any other, you know, in-person conversation where you're just kind of starting off with small talk and banter, you know, asking the surface level questions. It starts to get deeper as you get to know each other. But you're just not able to see each other and be in the same physical space. So they have to be creative. Sometimes they leave gifts in the pods for the people that they're dating once they start to get to know them. Sometimes they have a shared activity like a canvas where they can both paint. They have different things that they do in order to get to know each other and try to date without seeing each other. So it is quite the experiment to see if love really is blind, for people to see if they can fall in love with that person based on what they're hearing and what they are getting to know about each other, if they have shared values, and all of the things that you can do. Just basically imagine back in the day when we used to talk on the phone to get to know each other, which gives me flashbacks to, I remember being in Birmingham, visiting family. I don't know. I don't think it was summer. It might have been one spring, because we usually went to Birmingham in the spring. And one of my cousin's friends was telling me about her brothers or whatever. And she was like, I think you would like one of my brothers. And I believe she put me on the phone with her brother. And he was like a little younger than me. And so he was like, no, you would be good for my other brother who was older. So me and him got on the phone and we started talking, and we was just having great conversation for hours, and the anticipation, and we finally met and we were actually attracted to each other. And it was cute little puppy love. But like, who does that now? Like, now you got cell phones, you got the FaceTime, you can send a picture over the phone, you got social media, you got so many ways to be able to see people. So it's not often that anybody is having a blind date or not seeing someone and getting to know them to the point where they have actual feelings for them, um, you know, before they meet. The closest thing I could say that I've had, and it wasn't even close, I was going to say in recent years, was during the pandemic, um, getting to know someone over the phone and talking to them and not having a physical meetup or a physical date for like 3 months. But of course, we saw how each other looked, but we weren't, it was the pandemic. So we got creative with the dates. Like, we watched a movie together over the phone. We had FaceTime dates, little creative ways that we got to know each other, but still we could see each other. So ask yourself, would you be able to fall in love with somebody without seeing them? Like, do the looks really matter to you as much? Or can you really see yourself falling in love with someone for who they are and not what they look like? That's where I'm going to start. So the reason Okay, so again, the premise of the show is the contestants talk in the pods without seeing each other. The emotional connections are formed before physical attraction. And then the other catch is that the proposals happen before the couples even meet face to face. So in order for them to ever even meet, the man usually, I think the one woman I remember proposed first, but they have to get engaged. They have to agree to be engaged before they're allowed to see each other. And so the first time they see each other, they're having to match the voice with the face. They're seeing each other in person. They're trying to conceptualize the fact that they've been talking to this person all this time and now they're finally seeing them. And you kind of can see, I feel like I can tell when people aren't really that happy with the way their person looks, even if they say in the confessionals, like, oh yeah, they're not really my type, or they're my type, but they're nice looking or whatever. Like, you can tell when they're not feeling the person. It's just a vibe. I'm gonna keep it to myself because it's spoiler alert and I'm not ready to review the show. But there were a couple of couples that I could tell they were feeling each other, and there were a couple that I'm like, she don't like him like that. She don't like the way he looks. So we'll see. we'll see how it turns out. I meant to get a water. I didn't get one. So the reason why I decided to talk about Love is Blind today, I posted this on Threads earlier. Watching Love is Blind and wondering, are the couples truly falling in love in the pods, or are they falling in love with the experience of being heard and accepted? The dates evolve from banter to full-on sessions, confessing, revealing, and holding space for one another. I wonder, have the daters been to therapy, because some of what they share seem to be aspects of their lives that they haven't processed. I want to repeat that because I want y'all to receive what I just said. Watching Love is Blind and wondering, are the couples truly falling in love in the pods, or are they falling in love with the experience of being heard and accepted? The dates evolve from banter to full-on sessions, confessing, revealing, and holding space for one another. I wonder, have the daters been to therapy, because some of what they share seem to be aspects of their lives that they haven't processed. So again, they're in these pods and they're doing a lot of talking because that's all they can do. And after a while, it goes from like, where'd you grow up? And, what do you do? And what are you into? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? And, little, small talk, banter, jokes, back and forth, to really deep conversations where they're unpacking trauma. They're talking about things that they dealt with in their past, whether that's their past in their relationships, their childhood, loss of family members, grief. They really get super vulnerable, super transparent. And I'm trying to see, under normal circumstances, given the time that they are getting to know each other, would this be a normal progression of getting to know people? Now, I feel a little different as a life coach. I often have to find myself reeling it back from how dates can end up being a damn session. Because I have certain skills and a way of holding space for people, and I'm a good listener. People often feel comfortable telling me all their life story, their business, very early, very soon. And I often wonder, is this going on with everybody, or is this just happening to me because this is a gift that I have? Now, there's, some people just overshare, and I'm an open book. Sometimes I can overshare. But I often get told, I've never told anybody this, or you make me feel safe. You're the only person that I've shared this with, or that has been able to get this out of me, or whatever. And I'm like, what am I doing? So I'm really just listening. But I feel like on Love is Blind, because they're in these pods, it starts to be less of getting to know each other and more of like a therapy session. It's like you're literally having people hold space for you. They're laying down on a couch like they're in a therapy session. They're crying and they're really processing things in real time. And the reason why I say it seems more than just like, oh, I feel comfortable with you, we're getting to know each other, so this is something that I should share because we're in a scenario where we need to get to know each other quickly. It just seems as if these people have never even had an experience where they had somebody hold space for them like this, or they've been able to unpack their trauma. It really seems like they are processing it real time, and this is their first time really having someone listen to them, hold space for them, and not only just make them feel heard, but also accept them. Because there on this episode, on this season, somebody admitted to having an addiction to painkillers. Um, somebody else was talking about their grief from loss of siblings. And I think that it's important to be able to share and be transparent and talk to your partner for sure. But some of it can also seem like trauma dumping and trauma bonding as well. Um, because, one person says this and then the next person says, oh, that happened to me too, or I understand. And again, a part of it is a natural progression in getting to know somebody, but a part of me feel like these people have never done any type of healing work prior to getting on this show, and this is their first time having somebody listen to them. And I remember on last season there was a guy named Tim, and I can't think of his woman's name. It was Alex. Tim and Alex. So Tim had lost both of his sisters, and Alex, both of her parents, I think, were struggling with MS. So I feel like they kind of trauma bonded on having challenges with their family members and having to grieve a part of them or grieve their life. And even though there were other things that they probably bonded on, that was like the main theme of their connection. And maybe it's what we saw because, of course, this is an edited show. But the reason I also feel like these daters aren't truly falling in love in the pods and they're just pretty much trauma bonding and feeling heard is because oftentimes once they get out of the pods and they actually see each other and they're around each other, whether the attraction is there or not, it's almost like the feelings that they had in those pods are dismantled very quickly. So if they had something else that they were bonded about, I just don't feel like it would fall apart so easily once they get together. And I've never been in this type of situation or scenario or experiment, so I don't know for sure, but just looking in on it, that's what it seems like. So again, the many contestants, they unpack trauma during their pod conversations. They share deep vulnerabilities, which can create a false sense of intimacy. And the experience feels like therapy, leading people to confuse connection with emotional dependency. Again, some of these people probably have never had anybody that they can just talk to and cry openly. And then the fact that they're in a pod where they're not being seen, I feel like it is much easier to be that vulnerable when you're not being seen. For a man to just break down and cry, for a woman to, share certain things, it's easier because you're almost like you're talking to a damn wall. Basically, it's like you're talking to yourself, but you have somebody to bounce this off of. So that's just my opinion on Love is Blind. I've seen some couples be very successful outside of the pods, and seemingly, from what they show us, they've had some successful relationships. And I think the show is interesting. Me personally, I don't think I could do it. I'm open to certain shows. Like, I would go on a show like Ready to Love. I don't even know if they're still doing Ready to Love, hosted by Tommy, nephew Tommy. I think it's on OWN as well. And I would go on a show like that where I'm able to mix and mingle with people and then figure out who I'm compatible with in that way. But a show like Love is Blind or Married at First Sight, I don't think I could do, because I wouldn't be able to hide my face if I wasn't attracted to the person once I see them getting out of the pod or at the aisle, depending on the show setup. I wouldn't be able to hide it. And although physical attraction is not the number one priority, it is important to me. And so I would probably sabotage the whole relationship, even if we got along and we seemingly fell in love in the damn pods. My face would probably tell it all, because I won't be able to fake my reaction when I first see this person. And then eventually I probably would just sabotage it. I just know me. So that show wouldn't be for me. But again, I wanted to pose the question, like, where do you draw the line when you're dating people? As an intentional dater myself, and as a certified yapper, a conversationalist, and as a coach, someone who, you know, I am somewhat of a therapist. It's not, I'm not a certified therapist, but I provide therapy for people, a healer. And it's easy for people to come up to me. I tell this story all the time. I went on vacation. I'm in Florida on vacation, trying to decompress and disconnect from always having people at me. I didn't use my phone the entire trip, and I wanted to just be present and enjoy just being. I'm in the ocean, standing in the ocean, surrounded by water, looking out onto the horizon, minding my own business, meditating, breathing, thinking. I feel someone's presence. Mind you, I'm also, let's not leave this fact out. I'm on a new beach. So I'm in the water, naked, minding my own business. I feel someone's presence getting closer to me. I see in my peripheral there's this man that I think he may have spoken to me and my mom. We were both there. Earlier on the beach. She was back, laying on the sand or taking a walk or something. But I'm not rude or being like putting off any negative vibes, but I feel like invisible I had an invisible bubble around me that's like right now I want to be in my own space. But I felt him getting closer and closer. And I'm like, I know what's about to happen. I know it. So he started off saying some small talk. I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was just like, I'm giving you short answers, or, I'm barely responding because I want you to know this ain't the time, bruh. Next thing I know, this man was telling me his whole life story. He was telling me everything that he had went through with his ex-wife and I think she passed away, and then he was telling me about his stepdaughters and like all of this stuff in the middle of the ocean. We both butt naked, standing there. And so I can't get away if I try. Like, people feel comfortable talking to me about what they have going on. But when it comes to dating, I try not to have the coach hat on or the healer hat on all the time in the initial stages, because eventually it does feel like I'm providing a session. Um, and it's not necessarily always just the type of questions that I ask when I'm vetting. Sometimes it's just people just naturally feel comfortable telling me things, and that's fine too. And sometimes I have to refrain from asking certain follow-up questions because it does end up being a session versus me just allowing it to flow and just listening and holding space. Um, and sometimes, if I feel led to supporting somebody unpack something and it's a date, I will. But I think sometimes it could be too much too soon. So that's why I say it's important to be on your own journey of healing and seek therapy and have a sort of baseline of wellness in the mental health space prior to getting into relationships. Because yes, your partner is going to be there to support you and to hold space for you and to be there for you to talk to and unpack things, and they're going to be a mirror for you, and things are going to come up, and that's fine. But in the early stages of dating, I just feel like sometimes it can feel like a little bit of a trauma dump. So where do you draw the line? So according to this list, it says getting to know someone naturally involves deep conversations, but is it healthy to be the one unpacking their trauma? Normal is sharing past experiences, discussing goals, learning about each other's emotions. Not normal is feeling like you have to fix their unresolved wounds. So I think that's where your personal boundaries come in with that, because especially for someone like me, I am a solution-based person. I do feel like if I have a solution or some way that I can support somebody, I'm just going to openly share that. But then sometimes I have to take it back a little bit, bring it on back, because I don't want to feel like we're in the session. Because at this point, baby, send me my fee. Because I've had situations where I'm just like, I just gave this man a whole session. So it's up to you to kind of reel it back. Signs that you might be acting like their therapist. If they vent to you about all of their problems, but don't ask you about yours. That's another thing. If we're going to share, let's let this be reciprocal. Like, don't feel like you laying on the couch just telling me all your shit and not asking me how I feel or what I've been through or want to hear something deep about me. Like, if we listen, and let's listen, let's talk. If they seek emotional reassurance constantly without doing their own healing work, and that's my thing too. Like, what are you doing to unpack or do the work for yourself? Like, if you just coming to me for all the help and all the answers and all the resolve, that's not going to work for me. If they talk about their past relationships in ways that feel unresolved, that's a good green or red flag is based on how people describe their past relationships, like how they talk about the people that they've been in relationship with. So, we're human and things have happened to us in previous relationships, and your previous partner may have been the worst, or you may have had a terrible experience about or with them. But like, do you talk about it in a way where it's just where you could tell that it's still bothering you, or it's still something that is not, you're not healed from? Or do you always talk about this past relationship, but you never talk about how you contributed to the downfall, or you never take accountability for your contributions to either the breakup or what you accepted during that relationship? You can tell whether or not it's a healthy conversation when they talk about their exes or not. So again, the balance between support and emotional labor. It's okay to be empathetic, but not a dumping ground. I've had to personally correct, men that I've dated where it's just like, you're literally just dumping all your woes and ohs, and that's becoming the pattern. Like, it's not a normal conversation anymore. It's not like, hey, how you doing? How was your day? What's going on with you? We talking. It's just like, oh, life is this. This is so hard. Da, 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 da. Like, hey, let's do something about it. Let's get, how can we resolve what you're going through? What are the solutions? Who else can help us resolve this as well? Because I always say everybody needs their own team. Nobody is above needing their own team, and what your team looks like is your choice and your discretion. Like, does your team look like a mother or your father, a sibling, cousin, elder, somebody in your family or whatever that you go to for some sort of emotional support and some guidance and some wisdom? Does your team include a therapist, somebody that you go to regularly, weekly, bi-weekly? You sit in their room, you sit on their couch, you have a virtual call, somebody that you can talk to and unpack these things. A coach, somebody that can support you, keep you accountable, somebody that can help you come up with a plan of action for your goals and make sure that you're on track with them, somebody that can help you through whatever ideas that you have. Do you have a maybe it's a coach? That's me, thumbs up. Do you have a healer, somebody that can use spiritual tools, or help you with your diet, some type of holistic wellness? Maybe you need somebody that's a sound bowl healer. Maybe you need some sound healing. Maybe you need color therapy. Maybe you need float therapy, where you go and float your body, have your body float in a salt pool. And that's how you need to regulate your nervous system. Do you have need somebody that can be your not physical therapist, but personal trainer? So they can help you exercise and get into your fitness goals, which also helps with mental health. a dietitian or somebody that can help you with your diet and getting the things that you need. An herbalist, somebody that can get you some healing herbs and some essential oils or some essences that you need in order to regulate your nervous system. A meditation coach, a guide, a yoga instructor. There's plant medicine that some people explore. Who is a part of your team that can help you to ground yourself? And then yourself. There are plenty of books. I got plenty of them on my shelf right now. Um, personal development books and books about healing and unpacking trauma and forgiveness and acceptance and self-love and um, PTSD, healing from that. I got books about fear and manifesting and mindset and tools and diet and all of these things. Like, there's books, there are tools. Who is a part of your team and what tools are you utilizing to support you? Because if you're just looking for your partner to fulfill all of those roles that I just named, that's just not fair. And then, of course, your spiritual, outside of a holistic healer or somebody like that, a pastor, a preacher, a priest, whoever, if you're religious or if you're spiritual. There's priests, and not just Catholic priests. There's your Ifa and different types of spiritual practices where there's a priest or a priestess, a chief, just a spiritual warrior. As I just said, my mom is a certified spiritual warrior, somebody that can pray for you, pray with you, teach you how to get into your prayer, get into your prayer bag, in your prayer closet, go to your altar, whatever it is that you need to do. What tools do you have, and who is a part of your team? If you have no tools and you have no team, then that's your first step. And that's why I preach healing in your season of single, before you get into these relationships, in between relationships, or even if you're in a relationship. A lot of people need to do some work even when they have a partner, because it's not just their partner's responsibility to heal them or help them. So, like I said, you can always grab a guided journal off of my website, oshacerese.com, OSHACERESC.com. How to Beat Single is the perfect journal for you to get started on your journey. This is a tool that you can add to your healing modalities. And also, if you need a coach, if you need support, if you need some sessions, OshaCerese.com. You need to book a discovery call if you don't know which direction you want to go in or how you want to start. The discovery call is free. OshaCerese.com. You book a discovery call, and we'll talk about how I can support you on your journey of healing, self-love, and self-discovery. If you already know what you want to do, if you want to enroll in a course, One Single Step at a Time is my 6-week coaching program. That program helps you to unpack childhood trauma, relationship trauma, do some shadow work, get to know yourself, figure out what you want in life, in a partnership, and decide how you want to move forward with a plan of action for your future. That program comes with coaching. It's a completely guided program, and it's very successful. One of my clients actually started the program, I want to say, the week that she decided that she was going to go through with a divorce from her ex-husband. We worked together for those 6 weeks throughout her process, and I commend her on that, because a lot of people don't come to me until after they are struggling with healing from the divorce. But she got on top of things, and it made it a little bit smoother. Of course, she had to heal and go through the heartbreak in real time, but she got ahead of it. And then she hired me on as her coach, which I'm still her coach to this day. And I supported her on her journey post-divorce. And now she's in a healthy relationship where she knows what she wants. She knows who she is. She knows her boundaries. And, I'm really, really, really proud of her. And it's a great program for anybody that just needs to rediscover who they are, what they want. Also, 5 Ways in 5 Days. That is a shorter program, but it's also very intense, but it's more self-paced. So it comes with one free coaching session, but it's really self-paced. It can be done in as little as 5 days, and you have up to 2 months to complete it. It is about utilizing your love languages for your daily acts of self-love and self-care, and also uncovering any blockages you may have when it comes to giving and receiving love. You do a little bit of childhood healing, inner childhood healing with that program as well. And then again, one-on-one coaching is always available. If you don't want to go through an actual course, you can just sign up for coaching. But again, healing before love is really, I say, the best bet. Getting into the dating, you're always healing. It's not like I'm healed, I can start dating now. There's no destination of healing. It's an ongoing process. But like starting to do your healing work, having those tools, having a team, having methods of healing and regulating your own nervous system, and being able to um, just it'll help you with resolving conflict better in relationships. It'll help you to recognize red flags easier. It will help you to take accountability and be a supportive partner and accept feedback. There's so many benefits to healing and doing some work prior to getting into relationships. Knowing your attachment style is really important as well. Secure, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. There are different quizzes online that can help you to understand your attachment style. And once you do, trying to figure out what it is that you need to do in order to get to a more secure attachment style. Because a lot of people are, you know, clingy and jealous and nervous and possessive and controlling because of their attachment style. Identifying patterns in your past relationships. Again, that's why the guided journal, How to Beat Single, is so great, because it also includes like a relationship timeline where you can actually write down all of the things that you need to write down from your past relationships to help you identify certain things. So it's a great tool to have so that you can just really identify these patterns. And then doing self work on boundaries and self worth, of course, because the more boundaries you have, the more you are able to cultivate experiences that align more appropriately with what you need. And then the higher your self-worth is, your sense of self-worth is everything. You can really see your where your self-worth was at based on who you've been with, not just on their looks or their aesthetic or, you know, the surface level stuff, but how they treated you and what you accepted. So when you're healing while you're in these relationships, it does help with communication, like communicating without projecting past traumas, like not making your current partner pay for what your exes did. Again, it definitely helps with your being accountable for your own triggers and being able to resolve conflict a little bit better. And then when you're in a relationship and you're finding that conflict is a little bit rough, conflict resolution, and it's not just from their partner's end, it's maybe your end because you have these things that are coming up, seeking therapy, coaching, or starting to journal as an ongoing practice is helpful. And it doesn't mean that something's wrong with you. It's really that you're putting in the effort to make it work. And then, of course, healing after a relationship, after heartbreak, in between relationships, instead of just like breaking up and then going and running and getting right back into another relationship, or breaking up and suffering for years and years because you're not doing anything to address how you really feel, which is why sometimes people are still hurting from a relationship breakup from their teenage years. But grieving properly instead of rushing into distractions. Um, Losing a relationship is a whole grieving process. You're literally losing someone out of your life that you felt like you would be with forever. When you're with somebody, most likely you're thinking of forever. And so to break up with this person is a loss. Um, and I know that all too well, which is again why I have decided to support people on this journey. Because my ex-husband, I have a very unique story when it comes to my relationship with my ex-husband. Like, I was very young when we met. The relationship had its ups, but it had a lot of downs. So grieving who I thought I married, or grieving what I wanted that didn't happen, that was grief. And then when we separated and divorced, I had to grieve that the relationship was no more. This person that I had been with off and on for 8 years, lived with for 5 years, you know, building a family with, helping raise his children, all of these things. I had to grieve that. And then less than, or a little over a year after we divorced, he was murdered. So I had to literally grieve him. And then I was in the process of moving to another state. So I have a unique experience with grief when it comes to love. So that's why I I really emphasize healing and grieving what once was, and taking the time to do that, and then healing from it. Um Again, healing after love, taking time to self-reflect and understand the lessons. That's why this journal, How to Beat Single, is also so amazing, because it helps you to see your own flaws, your own contributions to the relationship as well. Not just, oh, my partner did this, this, and that. He wasn't it. No, what did you do? What can you learn from how you operated in that relationship, or how, how it worked out? What can you learn? How can you pull those lessons from that? And then, of course, redefining your identity outside of the relationship, because a lot of people don't know who the hell they are outside of being somebody's woman, or being somebody's man, or father, or mother, or whatever their role is. Who are you outside of that relationship? And that's another thing that you have to grieve, because when you're in the state of mind of having this relationship, and you haven't discovered who you are prior to getting in the relationship, you thinking us, we. You're not thinking me, I'm going to do this. This is what my goal is. You're thinking, this is what we should do. This is how we should operate. I can't wait to get this for us. And then, even if you do know yourself prior to the relationship, a lot of people get lost in the relationship. They forget to pour into their individuality and their own personal needs, and they just get swarmed up in the relationship and just completely lose themselves. So after the relationship is the perfect time. Really, if you're in a relationship and you want it to succeed, there is no better time than the present to rediscover yourself. You don't have to lose your partner or lose your relationship to find out who you are and pour into your identity. But if the relationship, you know, ends, then that's the perfect time to rediscover who you are outside of that relationship. Grieve that partner, grieve who you once were, or what you're leaving behind, and find a new you. So again, where do we cross the line? Where do we draw the line when it comes to the intentional dating and holding space for others? And if you notice that a partner that you're getting to know, that you have feelings for them, you want it to work, but you're noticing that they are using you as their source of healing, how do you handle that? Do you suggest other modalities of healing, or do you just become their go-to person? I would suggest doing I would suggest a combination. Of course, it's okay to hold space for your partner, to be their safe space, their confidant, to be able to share, to be able to learn and grow and evolve with each other and heal together. Awesome. But it is also important for you to have your own set of people that can also contribute to your help and your healing, your team, your tools, and your own self-work. Because you really don't need nobody to get started on your healing journey. Pick up a book, pick up a journal, pick up a pen, start doing something, exercising, running, yoga, getting into nature, going to, just get out of your own head, figure out what helps you regulate your own nervous system, and then look for outside support. But dumping on one person or expecting one person to be your everything, I don't think that that's fair. So I will leave you all with a couple of journaling prompts before we wrap it up. Do you tend to take on the role of a healer or fixer in relationships? Not thumbs up because I do. But do you tend to take on the role of a healer or a fixer in relationships? What does that look like for you and how does that make you feel? Just to expound on that prompt. What boundaries do you need to set in dating to protect your emotional energy? What boundaries do you need to set in dating to protect your emotional energy? What are your emotional needs and how do you communicate them in dating? What are your emotional needs and how do you communicate them in dating? One of the things that I personally try to communicate is that I'm a highly sensitive person. And so I can be easily overly stimulated. So overly stimulated and highly irritable. So a lot of noise, a lot of racket, as I call it, a lot of things going on at once, like people talking loud, people moving around, people shuffling papers. Like I'm hearing all of these things, the people talking to me, people in my personal space. So I do communicate that to people when I'm getting to know them, when we're to the point where we're spending time with each other, because I want you to know that please don't hold it against me if I'm irritable because this is what's going on, so that you know that I might need to go somewhere and decompress. I might need a moment. Um, so how do you communicate your needs, your emotional needs while dating? But again, thank you all for joining this episode of the Osha Cerese Show. I hope you pull something out of it. I hope that this show encouraged you to seek some help or some support or some guidance or something when it comes to mental health and wellness, because that is important, especially in our community. It is not a stigma. You are not crazy. It is not something that you have to be concerned about somebody finding out. If you've gotten therapy or a coach or a healer or support, get the support. The support is out there. A lot of people walking around with great insurance and not utilizing it for therapy or for mental wellness. Like, pour into your health, find out what works for you, find out what keeps you grounded, regulate your nervous system, seek support. Go to ashacerese.com and get you a journal, book a session, enroll in a course, something like that. I can help you and support you with that. And then also, if you're an influencer, creator, business owner, and you want a strategy session, that is also, to me, mental health and wellness support, because it can be so overwhelming as a business person or as a influencer or a creative to figure out what your strategy should be when it comes to your content or how to utilize and monetize your gifts. It can be all over the place with it and need somebody to just find out what it is that you are talented in or what you're offering and help you to give that to the world. So you can also book a strategy session if you're interested in that as well. AshaCerese.com. Subscribe to the newsletter. Subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/@AshaCerese, and make sure you turn those notifications on. I hope y'all having an amazing weekend, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Talk to you later.